It was dawn, April 12, 1861. As the first cannon fired at Fort Sumter, the sound echoed across Charleston Harbor, a sound that would divide a nation and shape the future of the world. Most people think they know why the American Civil War began. They'll say it was about slavery, and yes, slavery was at the heart of it. But the real story is far more complicated, a storm decades in the making, filled with political power struggles, economic rivalries, and a nation at war with its own identity. This is the untold story of why the American Civil War really started. In the mid-19th century, the United States was a young and ambitious country. But beneath the surface, two very different societies were growing side by side. In the north, industrial cities boomed. Railroads expanded, factories roared, and waves of immigrants fueled economic growth. Northern states favored protective tariffs, industrial progress, and a vision of a modern nation built on commerce and wage labor. The South, on the other hand, remained rural and agrarian. Its wealth came from cotton, grown on massive plantations and worked by enslaved African Americans. Southern elites relied heavily on free trade with Europe to export cotton and import manufactured goods. Two worlds, one flag. For decades, politicians tried to keep this fragile balance together through compromises, territorial deals, and sometimes pure denial. As the United States expanded westward, the question grew louder. Would new states allow slavery or not? Every new territory, from Missouri to Kansas to California, threatened to tip the political balance between slave states and free states. Laws like the Missouri Compromise, 1820, and the Compromise of 1850 were desperate attempts to keep the Union from fracturing. But compromise was becoming impossible. The North's population was growing rapidly. More people meant more representation in Congress. Southern leaders feared that, if they lost political power, Northern politicians would eventually abolish slavery, destroying their economy and way of life. Meanwhile, in the North, abolitionist movements were gaining momentum. Newspapers, speeches, and novels like Uncle Tom's Cabin stirred moral outrage. Northerners saw slavery as a national sin. Southerners saw Northern interference as a threat to their survival. Beneath the moral and political debates was a deep economic rivalry. Northern industrialists wanted high tariffs to protect American factories from foreign competition. Southerners, who relied on importing goods and exporting cotton, wanted low tariffs and free trade. This wasn't just a difference of opinion, it was a clash of two economic systems. Each depended on federal policy to protect its interests. As Northern influence grew in Washington, Southern leaders saw the writing on the wall. Their economic power was slipping away. Then, in 1860, a tall lawyer from Illinois named Abraham Lincoln was elected president. Lincoln wasn't even on the ballot in most Southern states. His victory sent a clear message. The North now controlled national politics. Though Lincoln promised not to abolish slavery where it already existed, Southern leaders didn't believe him. To them, his election symbolized the beginning of the end of their world. Within weeks, South Carolina voted to secede. One by one, other Southern states followed, forming the Confederate States of America. Lincoln, determined to preserve the Union, refused to accept secession. The Confederacy, determined to defend its sovereignty, seized federal property. And when Confederate forces opened fire on Fort Sumter, the fragile Union shattered into war. So what really caused the Civil War? It wasn't a single moment, law, or speech. It was a collision of systems, a moral conflict over slavery, a political struggle for power between North and South, a battle of economic interests that neither side could compromise on. Slavery was the central issue, but around it swirled decades of unresolved tension. By 1861, the United States was like a pressure cooker, and Fort Sumter was just the spark that blew the lid off. The Civil War would last 4 long years, cost over 600,000 lives, and permanently reshape the United States. But its origins weren't born overnight. They were forged in the halls of Congress, on the cotton fields, and in the hearts of a divided people. The real reason the American Civil War started wasn't just about slavery alone. It was about power, identity, and a nation struggling to define itself. And in the end, that struggle would explode into the deadliest war ever fought on American soil.